Alright, so today we are going to do one of the worst episodes from SpongeBob SquarePants. And if you don't know which episode is this is actually a season 5 episode 18 of the SpongeBob SquarePants series. And this episode is called Whatever Happened to SpongeBob? Okay, so actually, this was actually one of the worst episodes that was featured on the SpongeBob Wikipedia. If you would like to check it out to see why the episode is worse, you can do it. Okay, you can actually do it. Anyways, let's get started. So it starts on an extraordinary normal day as usual. When SpongeBob looks out of the window to see the mailman riding his bicycle, he then says hi to the mailman. The greeting actually causes the mailman to get distracted and the truck crashes into him. So, after that, SpongeBob wants to spend time with his friends, but his mere nuisance triggers horrible consequences that accidentally ends up getting into trouble. One, he broke Gary's shell accidentally while he hugged him too tight. The second one is he accidentally crushes the cake that Patrick made for his mom's birthday. Third, he disturbs Squidward's beauty sleep as usual because, SpongeBob likes to do these kinds of stuff to Squidward by annoying him. And the last part is that he accidentally destroys Sandy's new robot. Not only that, he accidentally deep fries Mr. Krabs in his $2 bill. Each of those is actually met with SpongeBob, which caused him to throw him out and furiously told him to go away. Followed by this, he was actually being called Idiot Boy. After that happened, SpongeBob begins to cry. Who believes none of his friends like him anymore, and they want him out of town. After he felt bad for himself for the way he did it, he decided to leave Bikini Bottom, waving goodbye to Gary, who just hisses him for being upset and picking up at the bandaged mess that used to be his shelf. He left him a year's supply of food and saying goodbye to everything. Except when he called himself an idiot boy at night, he becomes spooked in the dark but ends up falling in the cliff that makes him bump his head, knocking himself unconscious, causing him to fall into a new city called New Kelp City. In Bikini Bottom, Sandy and Patrick find a goodbye note from SpongeBob, and it was inside the pineapple that he was feeling remorseful to show it to Mr. Krabs and Squidward. Everyone except for Squidward feel awful because they treated him super badly. To make matters worse, without SpongeBob making the Krabby Patties at the Krusty Krab, the city breaks out into massive chaos. In order to find SpongeBob, Sandy actually creates a sea sponge locator devices, only for Squidward to have no intention to find SpongeBob, nor he wants him back, to smash it with a mallet. Upset, Mr. Krabs actually bribes Squidward to find SpongeBob on foot, promising him a Farage egg as a reward. After that, Squidward was followed by Patrick and Sandy. As SpongeBob woke up with amnesia, he sees a couple of tramp fish who deem him cheesehead brown pants to steal his possessions. It only leaves him with a bottle of bubble soap. As he wanders into New Kelp City, a dilapidated urban city, he attempts to get a job, but each time he gets a job, he strikes into fear and results from the city and the residents results in termination. Later that night, SpongeBob confronts the Bubble Boys, which is a gang of greasers that explain for having an unreasonable hatred for hate towards the bubbles. This actually caused them to get blinded upon bum hopping their eyes that have spent the last decades to hurt anyone who blows bubbles. This results in an unofficial ban and the city's downfall. As the gang chases SpongeBob, he eventually defeats them by trapping them into the bubble and carries them out of the city forever. He is then rewarded for getting the position for the mayor of New Kelp City. With Squidward's group on the road, they learn that SpongeBob actually became the new mayor, but they manage to go to New Kelp City to revive him. SpongeBob couldn't remember who they are and manages to brush them off. They manage to capture SpongeBob and return him to Krusty Krab, but he rejects it. Squidward celebrates this only to slip on the spatula and throws the fur-robbed egg into SpongeBob's head. SpongeBob is back to normal and is given an apology from his friends for running out of town. Although they forgive him, SpongeBob decides to return to New Kelp City since it needs their new mayor. At this moment, the breaking news report comes on that the bubbles in New Kelp City are blinding the citizens and blame SpongeBob for the mishap. This finally makes SpongeBob change his mind that he'll stay in Bikini Bottom for now, much to Squidward's charging. So actually, the episode which is Whatever Happened to SpongeBob, which is also known as Who Bob What Pants, was actually a special episode that was written by Casey Alexander, Zeus Carvius, and Stephen Banks. This was actually announced on Nickelodeon on September 24, 2008, with the press release. Although yes, this episode was actually the worst, and eventually there were a lot of hate towards this episode. Because one, I don't know why they actually called SpongeBob an idiot boy. I couldn't believe it. Like, why would they seriously do that? After watching this episode of What Happened to SpongeBob back on YouTube, I was so shocked. Like, I was actually really shocked because the main reason for being the worst episode ever is because SpongeBob was so devastated that he left Bikini Bottom as his friends got angry and called him idiot boy. He then hits his head and has amnesia. He couldn't remember what happened to him. I know you guys have been wondering about, the SpongeBob episode, like whatever happened to SpongeBob. I know because, look, I know sometimes, good shows can actually have worst episodes. And eventually, his friends were being a jerk. SpongeBob would have just, wait for everyone's turn. Once they're done doing something, then, they could talk to him. Okay? And I don't really get the point to say that it's actually a very cruel episode. It actually has the jokes that were scattered across. Getting warm near the fire means to wait in line. That was in the arcade. Even iCarly wasn't even the line crossing towards hobos. They treat blowing a bubble like, smoking in real life. Considering that it's actually a theory, they also subsequently cut SpongeBob like a cold knife that implies back towards an alley torture. It is not worth the mention. Okay, so while Sandy and Mr. Krabs did apologize to SpongeBob in the end, it was a later bit sheepish about it, and Squidward and Patrick don't even apologize to SpongeBob at all. Though in the later case, it was mainly because of his stupidity. Yes, I know sometimes why SpongeBob is like this. I know that he can act like a kid sometimes, but it doesn't give an excuse, for someone to yell at him. And one of the reasons why it was the worst is because of SpongeBob torture. The jerky Gary, Squidward, Patrick, Sandy, and Krabs, SpongeBob being called idiot boy for a lot of stupid reasons. It is mean-spirited, it's bad humor. It's ripoff of Pingu's episode, Pingu Runs Away. It's also another ripoff of My Life as a Teenage Robot television movie, Escape from Clutter Prime. I'll just say this episode was seriously worse is because, I couldn't believe why SpongeBob's friends would have treated him like that. I mean, I know SpongeBob is just trying to become a kid. He's like that. But you can't really judge him. You can't judge him. Alright? You can't judge him the way he is. If SpongeBob wants to do something out of the extraordinary, like the ordinary, then yes. Patrick does this all the time. But it does not give Patrick a flippant excuse to say idiot boy to SpongeBob just because of his stupidity. What the F? Okay, I know that episode's a bit too far. I know. I do apologize to it. you know. For those people who really want to watch the episode, yes, this episode is actually featured on YouTube. So I watched this episode back in 2022, and yes, it was definitely the worst. Okay. I know, because I managed to find a video right here. This is an animated video, and this one's the actual video right here. A lot of people would actually create all these videos to know why they hate that episode. Yes, I know it was an animated atrocities and the worst things that happened to SpongeBob SquarePants. I know SpongeBob is actually a funny guy. He loves to make Krabby Patties, but his friends calling him names just because of his stupidity, that's gone way too far. I'm really serious, because, you know, Patrick is best friends with SpongeBob, and he shouldn't be treating him the way he is. Yeah, I do feel like Patrick and Squidward are the most heartless jerks in this episode. I was like, oh my goodness, like, I'm serious why they would do something like that to SpongeBob. Anyways, guys, well, I would just say that's actually all for now, and if you do have any questions on the video, just, you know, leave a comment down below. And if you have any questions about the video, on what is this video about, you can just comment like that. Alright? Anyways, that's all.